Good evening. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Western Washington Amateur Television Society is a group of amateur radio enthusiasts that take to the airways with fast scan television. We have a repeater located up on Cougar Mountain. We transmit on 70 centimeters. It's a crossband repeater and spits out images at 1.2 gigahertz. To find out more about the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, Google WW7ATS. That's Google WW7ATS. That'll take you to our homepage where you can find out more information about our club and also the frequencies that we transmit on. Also on our front page is a link to YouTube where we stream our nets held on Wednesdays and Saturdays between 8 and 9 o'clock. Also, we'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association for letting us use WW7STR's repeater 147.08 with a tone of 103.5 for our transmissions during our nets. So with that, I'll pause. This is Dave, KD7CYM, in case anybody has emergency traffic or needs to make a contact on the 08 machine before our net gets fully underway. Hearing none, again, this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. So far checked into our net by a video link is Ron, KD7QKU. Bob, K9PQ. Jim, N7QO. James, WU7N. And myself, Dave, KD7CYM. And I see Jessica has joined us, KF7UHK. Is there anybody else that wishes to join the net this evening? Hearing none, we'll get the net rolling. Let's start off in Tacoma with Ron, KD7QKU.
Thank you very much, Dave. Good evening to the group. This is Ron, KD7QKU, coming to you from Tacoma. So let's see, I'm trying to think. I guess I played ham radio off and on this week. I go in every now and then and turn it on in 10 meters. And so I went in yesterday afternoon about 1:30, 2 o'clock and turned it on and spun the dial, and this guy was calling CQ, and he was a Canadian station. And I was on 10 watts, and so I tried to answer him, and at the same time, other people answered him, and he chose them other than me. So I waited for a few minutes until he got through talking to them, and then I kicked the power up to 100 watts. And I answered him, and he came right back, and he was VA3 Alpha Alpha Alpha. So Victor Alpha 3 Alpha Alpha Alpha. Anybody that's got a computer, QRZ, you can look him up right now and you'll be amazed at what this guy has. So anyway, so it's Victor Alpha 3 Alpha Alpha Alpha. And so anyway, he's very cordial. Said his name was Stanley and he was in Quebec, Canada. And I said my name was Ron, Romeo Oscar November, and I was near Seattle. I actually lived in Tacoma, about 30 miles south. And we chatted for a few minutes, and then he said, what are you using for an antenna? Oh, I said to him, I tried to call you on 10 watts, and those other guys covered me up, I guess, and you chose them instead of me. Oh, he said, well, go to 10 watts, and let's see what you sound like. So I went to 10 watts, and he said, oh, shoot, you're 5 by 7. He said, you're just putting in a beautiful signal here in Canada. And so I said, where do you live? And he said, oh, I live on an island, Stanley Island, and his name was Stanley. And so I said, is it a big island? Oh no, he said, it's a small private island. So I live on a private island. And Whitestone, I think he said lake. And so I said, oh, sounds really nice to me. And so then he said, well, what kind of antenna are you using? And I said, well, you're probably not going to believe this, but I just got a little ends-fed wire, and it's tied to the back of the motorhome ladder, and it's tied to a lawnmower shed, and it's only about 8 feet off the ground. And he laughed. He said, wow, he said, you're on 10 watts, you're just putting in a beautiful signal here. And he said, my claim to fame is a 130-foot tower with a 3-element beam on top. And so I said, oh, well, that sounds like a nice setup. And he said, yeah, no, I really enjoy ham radio. And so we chatted back and forth for a while, and so then we said goodbye. And so I called my friend in Boise, and I said, hey, I just made a contact up in Canada on 10 watts. And he said I was a 5.7, putting in a beautiful signal. And he said, what was his call? And I said, well, it was VA3 Alpha Alpha Alpha. And so he said, did you look him up? No, I didn't look him up. So Randy said, well, my computer's on. So he said, look, he goes, oh my God. He said, you gotta look at this guy's website. He said, holy smokes. He said, my goodness sakes, he said. So he said, I'm just amazed that you got this guy on 10 watts. Yeah, no, the guy wanted me to go down lower. He said, can you go down to 5 or 1 watt? And I said, no, I can't go down any lower. So he said, well, I'm only running 50 watt, but I'm up on top of the tower with this 3-element beam, and I'm beaming your way. So he said, we got really good communication. So I said, okay, Stanley, well, thanks for taking my call, and enjoy the day, and don't get too much snow, and we'll maybe talk to you down the road. So anyway, then like I say, then I called my friend Randy, and he looked him up, and he goes, oh, for Pete's sakes, he said, this guy, he's had 170 or 145,000 lookups. He said, he is the ham of hams. So anyway, if you want to look up his website, you'll be amazed. It just goes on for page after page. The guy's done everything. All right, so that was enough for now. I'll get back to you later. KD7QKU.
KD7QKU, Ron, thanks for that. Let's go to Jessica, KF7UHK.
Jessica, up here in Everett, where it says it's 42 degrees out. It was a fairly kind of decent day. It rained a little bit, though. Today, Sylvia and I watched the old movie, came out in 2002, The Sum of All Fears, from a Tom Clancy book. And I just loved it. It's a kind of a thinking movie. You have to really pay attention because there's a lot of dialogue in it, and a lot of subtitle reading because there's Russians involved. And so that's what we did this afternoon. That was pretty cool. Sylvia's over here doing taxes. I think we're getting close to being done, which I'm happy because when she's unhappy doing taxes, I'm unhappy when she's doing taxes. So I kind of massage her feet and make sure she's got snacks and a good light over and a pen to use, so I don't have to, I'm basically her servant when she's doing taxes. So I'm good for that when taxes come along, because when I do them, I cry, and then I call Sylvia, and then she cries. So that's how that works. Had some really good steaks for dinner. Got from Fred Meyer some really thick steaks. I don't think they were very cheap, as I recall when I bought them, but boy, they were sure good. So if you want to know how to cook a good steak, I'm not too bad at that either. So this is KF7UHK.
UHK. Well, I see your barbecues going on in the background. I hope they didn't get seared too bad. Let's go on down to Bob, K9PQ.
All right, hello guys, and I have not looked up I will check them out when I get a chance. That sounds like quite a contact there, Ron, and yeah, sending out my sympathies, Jessica, for the taxes. It sounds like you're doing a good job. You're doing your part there, so good for you. Good for you. I don't have a lot going on here today. Not a lot to report, so I think I'm just going to keep this one short and send it on back and hear what everyone else has going on. Maybe I'll think of something by the next time around. Back to you, Dave, K9PQ.
Thank you. Thanks for that. And it's ID time again. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society Net. I'm the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. Well, let's go to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO. Thank you, Dave. Good evening, everyone. Well, let's see. I have everyone in living color tonight. Looks pretty good. Bob, believe it or not, on a 1.2 gigahertz downlink, your green screen is green tonight. I don't know what happened there, but I am pleasantly surprised. Nothing I did on my end. I guess the propagation people or propagation fairies or something just somehow tweaked our repeater, so it's working better. Looks good tonight. Ron, played ham radio. You have no idea how often I want to do that and think about doing that. I don't know what happens. Life just gets in the way. Just out of curiosity, were you using your 10-meter horizontal dipole to communicate with him? Looks like you're starting to talk there. Does anyone hear me? No one hears me? Oh, okay, thanks. Well, whatever you said there, Ron, I didn't hear it. And Jessica, taxes. Thank you for the reminder about that. I forgot all about that. But talking about taxes and crying, I received my property tax bill in the mail in the past day or two, and it was a very unpleasant surprise. Oh well. What can I say? Back to you, Dave, N7QO.
Let's go to Bellevue to James, WU7N.
Dave, this is James, WU7N, northeast of Bellevue. Yeah, first thing, we have a beautiful 1.2 gigahertz picture coming off Cougar Mountain tonight. For anyone who's trying to decode this, maybe just listening in tonight, that would be a good night. It's certainly a strong signal. Let's see, Ron, I mean, if anybody chose someone else over you, it's clear they have no taste, but, you know, I mean, we know you, maybe they don't, maybe there's some excuse there. Sorry Sylvia is so taxed right now, but yes, provide with pen and snacks and light overhead, and I'm sure you'll get through it. Let's see, the other thing I was going to mention is, yeah, the weather was really strange today. It was raining, and it was quite cold last night here on this side of the lake. So we had a little microclimate thing going here, I think. I don't know if anybody else noticed odd weather last night and this morning, and then I went and walked this afternoon, and it didn't seem especially cold. So maybe a front came through or something like that. Let's see. Anyway, not too much exciting going on. Going to take a friend to a medical appointment next week. And he's so funny. I said, well, okay, so, you know, do you have a mask? He says, oh, well, they'll just give me one there. And I went, well, why wouldn't you just bring one, just in case the security guard downstairs has, like, it's his first day or something, and he doesn't know what to do or something. I mean, that seems like after 3 years of this, I don't think I would want to take my chances to see if I could get in the building or not. I guess everybody's risk tolerance is for those kind of things is different. But anyway, it's very entertaining to see people's different perspectives and points of views on things like that. Yes, and
let's see, there were three. There was The Sum of All Fears, and there were two others, Clancy novels. And I know because I have a book in the trunk of my car, I think, that has all three novels in one book. I figure if I ever get stuck someplace, I'll read the novels. But I don't know what you think, Jessica, but I watched a couple opening sequences of the two movies, and I thought they'd done, just for those opening sequences, a pretty good job at catching people's attention and such, given what they had to work with in the day. So, anyway, that's it for me, James, WW7N in Northeast Bellevue. Let's turn back to Dave, our net control for the Western Washington Amateur Television Society.
7N, thanks for joining the net this evening. This is Dave, KD7CYM, in Lake City. Oh my, got 43 degrees on the outside thermometer, a little bit chilly, but it looks like it's going to be warm compared to what it's going to do in the rest of next week. I think it's going to go down in the low teens. It's going to be rather chilly. Well, I spent the afternoon cracking the pages on a barbecue cookbook, and so my thoughts are with Jessica after going through the barbecue book on how to grill steaks. I'd never thought of marinating a steak, but they had mentioned in the book that you can do that, and it's supposed to make it a little more tender. I don't know. Something you might have to try on, but I don't know. I just like my steaks done just on the grill on both sides, and some people like to put all kinds of sauces on their steak. I just like them as it's got a nice crust on the steak on both sides, and got a nice grit pattern on it, and it really tastes good. And it's medium rare in the center, so I've enjoyed that in the past. But it was interesting to see how other people do steaks, including tossing a steak on coals in the barbecue pit, not using a grid, just searing the steak on both sides, and dust off the ash on the steak on both sides before you eat it, I guess. So anyway, that kind of looked interesting also. So again, this is Dave, KD7CYM. So I'll send it back up to the top to Ron, KD7QKU.
Thanks again, Dave. KD7QKU here again. Well, Jim, it's an end-fed wire. End-fed. It's about, I don't know, however long it would be, 10 feet long, 8 feet long. It's not very long. My friend Randy thinks that why it works so good is because it is close to the ground. He thinks it hits the ground and radiates. He says the military used lots of antennas like that. He had a name for it, but I don't know what it's called. So another thing that I did a couple weeks ago is I have a television set in the motorhome. It's built in over the cab, and I think it's an analog set. And so when we got rid of Dish had it converted. It converted to, from digital to analog. It would work just fine. TV set worked fine, but when I taken the Dish box out and everything, well, of course the TV set wouldn't work. So I tried to order a converter to convert digital to analog, and I ordered it through Amazon, and then it finally got here one day. It got to Tuckwell or someplace, and no, it was Federal Way, I think. Got to Federal Way or something, and then it just seemed like it stayed in Federal Way for about 3 days, and then I got a notification from them saying that it got damaged, and they were going to refund my money. That was from Amazon, so I don't know if somebody run over it or what they did, but anyway. So they said they would refund my money in 2 or 3 days. So I haven't got my bill yet, so I don't know if they ever refunded it or not. So a couple of days ago, I decided to buy another one. So I bought another one. It's in this box. And so I box open again. Bitty device, not very big, and has a power supply and a remote, and looks pretty simple, straightforward. It did come with some instructions. I couldn't read the instructions. I mean, I could kind of read them, but they just didn't make sense. I couldn't even figure out how to turn it on. It has a button on it. It says power. But I don't know whether I had it on or not. So anyway, I went out and I hooked it all up. There's an antenna on top of the motorhome, so I cranked it up and I thought I hooked it up with that antenna, and I messed with it for a couple hours. I couldn't make it work. And then I had a little TV set out there, but the little TV set was already digital. And even without a wire or antenna or anything hooked up to the little TV set, it would get a lot of pictures. That's just amazing. So I tried to hook it up to it, and it seemed to get lots of pictures. But I don't know. I finally gave up after a couple hours, and I came in the house, and then I was sitting here, and then I decided that in my TV station I have some analog TVs, and so I went in and tore it apart and got one of the little analog TVs out, hooked it up to the antenna that's taped in the window, and hooked it up to the box, and then hooked the box up to the TV set, put it on 3, and lo and behold, it worked like a charm. And I did a scan and downloaded, about 50 stations. So now I figured out how to work it. I figured out how to turn it on. So I know it's on, and then I figured out, like now I did the scan and everything on it. And I got the menu. I couldn't get the menu on the screen of the TV set in the motorhome. And if I could have got the menu on that, would have really helped me, but I couldn't get the menu on. It has a menu, it has a remote. It has the remote, nice remote, it worked fine. So when I got it in here, it would channel up, channel down, and it would change volume and everything. It worked great in here on the little TV set. So then I had to put my ATV station back together and test it and make sure I had it all hooked up right again. So maybe tomorrow or sometime I'll have a go at it again. This time I'm going to tape a wire in the window of the motorhome like I do in the house, and it'll be facing north like the one was here in the bedroom that I hooked it up to, and see if that works better than the antenna on the roof. So I don't know if the antenna, of course the antenna on the roof is probably an analog antenna, and I don't know if that would make a difference or not. I've never, tried to receive a digital picture. But it doesn't take hardly any antenna to get a digital picture here, so I would think anything would work. Like I say, the little TV set, the little portable flat screen that I have, that Tyler, whatever it is, it'll get a whole bunch of stations without an antenna even hooked to it. So that's just crazy. All right, enough of that. Back to net, KD7QKU.
QKU, Ron. Thanks for that. Get an ID here again. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. Let's go to Jessica, KF7UHK.
HK reminds me of Homer Simpson's next door neighbor, Ned Flanders. My favorite quote from him is, 137 channels locked out. Because he's kind of the nut in the neighborhood. Doesn't want his kids to watch TV, apparently. But he buys cable, so it makes no sense really. Let's see, steaks. Let me talk about steaks. This is how I do a steak. I throw a little bit of salt and pepper on it, maybe on both sides, and then I stick it on a grill. What do you call it? A broiler pan, and I have it on the top rack in my oven, raging it as hot as it'll go on broil, which it says it's 550. I've never actually measured it to see what it actually gets up to, but it does. I don't think it stops. It just goes as hot as it can, and I'll put it in there until it starts searing on top, and then when it feels like it's still just a little bit soft in the middle, like it's still a little bit rare, then I'll flip it over and just give it a little more touchy heat on the bottom side, and then I'm done. And it usually comes out medium rare or just on the verge of going to medium. And delicious. I mean, these steaks were so good. We ate the fat. I ate the fat on them too. It was so good. Because that's where the flavor comes from. That's what they say. Tom Clancy movies. The only other one I think I've seen was Hunt for Red October. But yes, once again, I think they put a lot of details in these movies, and I think they put a lot of feeling into them. So when you watch them, I get all wound up by the end of the movie. You know, I'm ready for a drink to relax after them because they've got you so wrapped around the wheel, and I like that. That makes me feel like I really got something out of it. So that's pretty fun. And another old movie I really like. I think it came out in 1973, and I used to see the commercials for it. And when I finally got to see the movie, it's like, oh, this is great. It was from Dean Koontz, movie called Demon Seed. If you haven't seen it, it's well worth seeing. KM7UHK.
UHK, thanks for that. Let's go to Bob, K9PQ and Bothell. Bothell, Bob.
Okay, well, while we're on the subject of steaks, I got myself a sous vide setup, and it does perfect steaks to whatever done you want. I found, I've already had pretty good methods of getting steaks what I wanted, but it does other things as well. It does salmon just outstandingly. Delicate fish, like, salmon, it will get it, it'll stay moist, it'll be done without drying out, and it won't fall apart, and it's, I've done that a couple of times now, and just add a little bit of dill and a little bit of lemon to sprinkle on afterward, and it's fantastic. It's fantastic. So I haven't experimented too much with it, but I've branched out. A friend of mine is what he calls a segan. He's vegan, but he eats seafood occasionally. So we had salmon when he came over. Let's see, I do have a few notes. Yeah, the weather, we're going to get a chilly blast coming in next week. I haven't seen anything into the low teens, but I've seen low 20s, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get low teens. It's pretty late in the year for that, but we're definitely getting some blast coming down from Canada. Yeah, about wearing masks, that's just crazy. I realize people, I think what it is people are getting out of the habit of wearing masks again. They figure, okay, it's all over, we don't need masks anymore. I still carry mine with me whenever I leave the house, and if I go into a grocery store or UPS store, anywhere I'm going to be in close contact with people, I put the mask on. Yeah, Hunt for Red October is the other one I was thinking of. I used to read his books. I kind of just got out of the habit, lost interest. But another one that's not part of that whole Red October, Some of All Fears, that it's that sort of fictional world. He's created several, like you said, in that world. But this is different. This came out right after Hunt for Red October. I believe it's called Red Storm Rising. And what it is a fictional account, but as close to what he could do as coming up with, how this would work in reality of a World War III. This was when the Cold War was still going on, and so if you remember, his Hunt for Red October and his early books at least were very technology focused. He really got into all the different military gear and the electronics and all of that. And Red Storm Rising does that even more. He basically, for what they had at the time, with the U.S. and the Soviet, it was a fictional major conflict in Europe. Let me break. I don't need to break. Ron has gone on forever on these things and not had the timeout hit him, so I'm not sure what the timeout's set at, but I guess it's a little more lenient than we're all thinking. As for Ron, the antenna, I think you were mentioning it. Yeah, you said your friend mentioned it, Ron. I think it's the NVIS antenna is what you're thinking of, that the military uses, where they have the antenna intentionally low to the ground. But that's for regional. That's more for like between here and Eastern Washington. That was not really intended to reach all the way to Quebec. So I'm really surprised myself that your antenna did so well. I think it had a lot to do with his antenna. You know, that is one heck of an antenna. I did get out to his site, just do a quick browse. I didn't really have time. But holy smoke, that is a very big website on QRZ for that guy. And yeah, as for antennas for digital, you know, they make what they call patch antennas. They're about the size of a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper and not much thicker. And those work really, really well for digital antennas. I think the Tyler TV that you mentioned, I have one of those. I didn't have a chance to look it up, but I'm pretty sure that has an internal antenna that works somewhat like those patch antennas when you don't have an external antenna connected to it. So that's probably why that's getting a good signal. But that's good news. I mean, it sounds like you're in a really good location there, Ron, to get the signals from. I think most of them are coming in from across the sound. Somewhere on the other side of Puget Sound is where most of those antennas are. Okay, I think that's it for me. I will send it back to that K9PQ.
Thanks with that. And time for another ID. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. So let's go to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Well, let's see. Jim, you were talking about the weather. Yes, truly bizarre weather here as well today. Right now I'm showing 42 degrees, the same as, I forgot who it was that said that. I had fog and mist and light rain for much of the day. From my perspective, that may be part of why I'm getting more decent signals on the 1.2 now. It seems like my signals are best when all of the foliage is wet, but it is not raining out there. So anyway, good signals on 1.2 tonight. And masks. I'll tell you what, I went to the dentist on Wednesday and on Thursday and on Friday. And on Wednesday and Thursday, I was required to wear masks. But Friday, I walked in and they said, we're no longer required to wear masks, so you're free to remove it if you wish. Well, since it was the dentist office, I had to remove it anyway, so I just kind of, I don't know, whatever. I don't understand some of what's going on in this world, but whatever. I just thought that was interesting, though. I wonder if that's true everywhere or only at my dentist office. But the girls behind the desk were really happy. One of them said, yeah, this is the first time in about 3 years that we haven't had to wear a mask behind the desk here. So they were pleased. Dave, steak. Oh my goodness. Somehow you have got to maybe send your son better Christmas presents or something, or some kind of holiday presents. What you should do is be able to get your son to just DoorDash you some decent steaks. I would think that would be pretty cool. But making your own works. I don't know. Ron, I'll bet you could Google that particular digital to analog converter and find some sort of instruction manual online for that. It will be worth looking somewhere. Oh, you got one there. It just doesn't make sense, I guess. Well, I don't know. Good luck with that. And let's see. Jessica, drink after some of those intense movies. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have much of a comeback after that. But back to you, Dave, N7QO.
QO, let's go to James, WU7N in Bellevue.
Well, thank you, Dave. Also, a big thank you to everyone who sent in their dues, by the way. I think I'm caught up almost. So thank you for that. Ron not being able to read the manual. Okay, that used to be called, let's see, what they call it? Jangrish, back when everything came from Japan. My favorite sign is it's warning you, you know, there's a cliff, and so the sign translates into English, and they have it in English, please gently fall into the cliff. And then there's another one that's great that was, we cheat the other guy and pass the savings on to you. That was I think, my two best mistranslations. Demon Seed, Jessica, yes, I do remember Demon Seed. That was a classic. That was the first scary robot, AI taking over the world kind of things. Yeah, that was actually also, I thought, real well done for the technology of the movie-making art at the time. That's definitely worth watching, and then considering they didn't have a lot of, you know, the special effects and CGI and stuff today. One I can recently recommend, that generally speaking, there's only one, I think, video game adaptation to a movie that's kind of ever taken off positively. The others really haven't done great. But I just watched the pilot to one called The Last of Us, and it's a PlayStation video game. I think they've looked at all the boo-boos of trying to make video games into movies, and they just took the idea, and they're focusing on character development and things like that. So I'd say, so far, I'd have to say I think they've done a really good job. It'll be interesting to see how that one develops. But it's currently running, I think, right now. So you might want to check that pilot out, see if it's your kind of movie or not. I was surprised. I'm not a big Walking Dead fan, but my goodness, I think there's been one or two spin-offs, and it ran for some incredible number of seasons, the first Walking Dead movie, or series. So apparently that one was a big hit. I just saw the pilot on that, and then maybe I'll have to go back and look at it again. So let's see. Anyway, I think, My Oven, Jessica, yes. My Oven apparently has a problem with the thermostat, because I tried to cook a pizza a few weeks ago, and there's only one temperature, that's 1,000 degrees. There is no other temperature. I just put the pizza in and, you know, set the oven, and I just suddenly noticed, I go, well, let's just look at the pizza. And I look in there, and it's sort of burned on the bottom, and it's still nothing is happening on the top. And the heat wave, it was like a blast furnace in one of those movies where they show you how steel is made. Just the waves of heat came out, and I went, okay, I think we've got a malfunctioning oven here. I guess, you know, if you're gonna have a choice between full on and full off, I guess it's better to have one full on. But I was trying to figure out how you get to the thermostat on an oven, and oh my goodness, I don't know. Maybe it's you get at it from the back or what. I'm not sure. Anybody who's got ideas, let me know. WU7N in Northeast Bellevue. So let's turn it back to Dave, our net control.
WU7N, thanks for that. Boy, talking about reading manuals and instructions on electronics that come from overseas. Our first video cameras that came into television was from Ikegami. It was an HL35. And I opened up the manual, and the front page said, handy color looky, and then went on to give you page-by-page description of what you could do with the camera, but they referred to it as a handy color looky. And I think Motorola had a radio that came out of Japan too, and it was a handy talkie, portable handy talkie. So anyway, I guess that's where the handy color looky came from that terminology bank. Oh my. So that's about all I can add to that. So let's go back up to the top to Ron, KD7QKU, that was firing off those whole 10 watts. It was just reverberating all over Canada.
Okay, thank you, Dave. KD7QKU here. Yeah. Well, I mentioned this before about cooking salmon. Over the years, I've caught a lot, and I've cooked a lot, and I've eaten a lot. But lately, thanks to my son, we've been doing it differently. So, cook it skin side down. You can cook it in a frying pan, or you can cook it in the oven in a pan. And you slather it on top with mayonnaise. Lots of mayonnaise. And then you take this Kansas City steak sauce, barbecue, sprinkles. It's got brown sugar and garlic and spices, and you sprinkle a lot of it on top of the mayonnaise, and then you cook it, bake it, whatever. And it's just about as good as I've ever had salmon, I'm telling you. It's pretty good. The mayonnaise melts a little bit, and then all this seasoning goes into it, and it is pretty darn good. So, thanks to my son. I don't know where he got the idea of putting steak seasoning on his salmon, but it was a good idea. So, and yeah, Joanne's been, she had this friend that passed away, and so she's got to do her income tax. Hopefully, this will be the last time she has to do very much with that estate, but she has to. So she's been working on that the last few days, and I think I heard her say she has one more paper maybe to get in from somebody. But this has been it's been almost a year. It'll be a year at Easter. The lady died right around the Easter time. It's been a long year trying to get all this stuff done. So let's see what happened. Oh, so I had a nice visit with my son the other day. He had shoulder surgery back in October, but he told me his arm was doing pretty good now. So he actually called me today and said, or texted me today and said he would come over tomorrow and put up the extension ladder and put an eye bolt up in the peak of the roof, so I can put a little pulley up there, because I want to pull this little end-fed wire up there instead of tied to the motorhome. Having it tied to the motorhome is not a very good idea, because I might want to use the motorhome, but tying it to the house. But it's going to change the direction a little bit, and it's going to make a sloping antenna instead of a horizontal one, so I don't know what that'll do. The one end will be higher than it is now, quite a bit, about twice as high. So anyway, so he said he'd come over tomorrow about noon and do that, so it'll be nice to have that done. And then I don't know, I might try to put up a pipe sometime across the yard or at the back of the little lawnmower shed or something, and put that end up on the pipe, so then I'd have it about maybe 15, 20 feet off the ground. That might work better, but we'll see how that develops. First one thing, and then maybe something else. All right, that's about all I got. Back to net, I guess. Goes around awful quick. KD7QKU.
QKU. Let's go to Jessica. KF7UHK.
Tennis, as I grew up in Edmund's house, our best channels we could get was 4, 5, and 7 from downtown Seattle, and we had an antenna up inside our attic, which is one of the places I'd play at. With the family of 6, you find places that no one's at, and the attic was my place to go hang out. But they always had names like Channel Master, and you wonder, was there any theory put into these antennas, or just a bunch of metal you bought and you stuck up on your mast? I don't know. Let's see, sous vide. Mr. Bob has a sous vide machine. That's cool. I've seen those on cooking shows, and that they always seem to do good things. So that's cool, sous vide machine. And then lastly, my cat Chloe, my female cat Chloe, she was sitting by my back door today, meowing. And usually she only meows when she can see the bottom of the food bowl. And she comes and tells me, "Look at me, I'm starving. I'm just skin and bones." Can't you tell that I need my food bowl filled? Is what she usually says, even though she's a giant fat cat. But today she was sitting on the back at the back, looking out the window, meowing, and she saw a little bird out there, just a little teeny little starling or something on the back porch, and she was licking her lips, saying, "I want that bird. I don't know if I want to eat it, but I certainly want to kill it and put it in my teeth." So I found that really kind of exciting to see that she's not just any old cat. So that's all I got for you right now. Oh, I've been to Quebec. I've been to Quebec way back about 30 years ago, and much of it, but I saw parts of it, and it was still pretty interesting. Okay, I'm gonna go. This is KF7, UHK.
UHK. Let's go to Bob, K9PQ in Bothell.
Okay, well, hello again. I do have some notes here. Yeah, Jessica, my cat Sparky, she's just over 10 years old, and something seems to be changing with her because she has been a very fit, almost skinny cat all of her life up until about a year ago, and she's starting to get plump a little bit. So I haven't changed her feeding. You know, since the big major surgery she had when she was young, you know, I had to abandon what I used to do, which was just leave kibble out all the time, you know, with my previous cat, and that was working for her. But the vet said, nope, can't do that anymore. So I've been feeding her every morning and every evening, and I measure carefully just how much food I give her. But she's somehow gaining weight, and I guess that's just, you know, happens to all of us late in life. But, you know, she's not old enough for that yet, so I don't know what's going on. Yeah, and she also loves birds. Man, oh man. And the only time she ever catches birds is when they hit the window and die, and then she picks them up off the deck and brings them into me. And, you know, lovely, leaves them a present for me right in the middle of the floor. At least she doesn't tear them up. I'm thankful for that. She doesn't eat them or anything. I just pick them up and do a little disinfecting and call it good. But yeah, but the other thing is, whenever she hears a thump at the window, she's there like a shot, looking out the window to see what was that. Was that another bird? So she learned very quickly what that sound got for her. And yeah, she does love looking at the birds longingly, like, oh, if only I could sneak up on this thing. I have also been to Quebec. I've been to Montreal. A friend of mine was born there. Montreal is a wonderful city. I highly recommend anybody to go there, especially if you like sort of old architecture, old churches, lots of old churches, Catholic churches. If you don't feel like traveling all the way to Europe, that's a good substitute, I would say. And yeah, we're on the mayo and steak seasoning. You know, I might give that a try. I liked the sous vide on the salmon. One thing that was nice is, you know, you really got just a pure salmon taste with a little bit of dill and a little bit of lemon. It really brought out the salmon flavor. But I'm not a purist. If it tastes good, I'll give it a shot. So I'm definitely looking forward to trying the mayo and the steak seasoning. That sounds like a good idea. I guess that's what I've got for today. I thought I had something else too, but I don't see it. Nope, that's it. So I'll send it back. K9PQ.
PQ, let's go to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Jim, I have no idea about the oven thermostat. I don't know, good luck with that. I agree, it's better for it to be stuck in the on position rather than stuck in the off position. But it is nice to have some degree of control over it. So, I don't know, good luck. Ron, salmon, mayo, and like a steak rub. I would never have thought of that, but I'm certainly going to try that. Thanks for the suggestion. Jessica, I was wondering if maybe your cat really likes chicken. Maybe your kitty was looking outside and she was thinking, it's a mini chicken, I'll go get it. That would be probably my guess. Whereas Bob, Sparky, sounds like just wants to play with the birds and maybe kill them, hunt them, derive pleasure from killing something, I guess. I don't know. But I'll tell you what, I would take Sparky to a vet, maybe get an x-ray or something. If she's gaining weight like that, it might be a possible tumor is what I'm thinking. I'd want a vet to take a look at that. Just my 2 cents. Back to you, Dave, at 7QO.
Jim, let's go on to Bellevue, James, WU7N.
Thank you, Dave. And Bob, you have a female cat. You're feeding the same amount of food, and it's gaining weight. Yeah, I think I know what could be going here. Putting our hands up. Well, okay, we won't go any further. Maybe that's not. Yeah, we'll talk with Bob later about why female cats gain weight. Anyway, you know, your cat sounds very, let's see, efficient. I recall a story from Pine Lake. There were 3 cats around the house, and they were trying to figure out which cat was bringing the mice in, because they knew the cats were all hunters, but they were eating the mice. They were not sharing the mice. They were eating them themselves, and so all of a sudden the mice started appearing on their bed. And they had one very old arthritic cat. It was very old, and they said, well, it couldn't possibly be that cat. And one day he was looking at this. It had a favorite place to sleep on top of the wood pile. And one day the cat was just laying there, and it kind of opened its head up a little bit, and a mouse slightly came out of the wood pile, and it just stomped its paw down on the mouse, and then slowly rolled off and got the mouse, and slowly limped into the house to put the mouse down inside the house. So they figured out that the oldest cat was maybe making up for lost payments of yesteryear or something. I don't know, but that's they finally solved the mystery of which cat was bringing in the mice. And Jessica, Quebec. This is eerie. We might have been there at the same time, because it was mid-1980s, I think, is the last time I was in Quebec. Bob, you're right. You know, it could sort of pass as Europe, except the French doesn't sound the same at all. And so that is one important difference. But don't tell anybody in Quebec I said that. You could start a bar fight with that one. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, I was going to tell Ron, it's okay. It's okay if you smother your salmon with mayo and steak seasoning. We can still be friends. It's all right. I've never heard of that before, but now that you said it, of course, I have to try it. Okay, next salmon, it's going to die under the mayo and steak seasonings. Well, anyway, let's see, I guess that's all I have for this time around. I see it's 53 minutes after the hour, so let me turn it back to Dave, our net control for the Western Washington Amateur Television Society.
Thanks for that, James. And it's time for an ID again. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, not on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. Boy, listening to animal stories, it reminded me back when I had a Cairn Terrier, and he'd go out in the backyard, and then he would bring into the house a squirrel that he'd captured, and so politely he'd come over and just drop it off at your feet like, here's a peace offering. Now what do I get? And he'd done this several times during the summer, but it's just amazing that how fast those squirrels can go, that a little dog can actually go catch one and take care of it. But this was the same dog that my daughter had a friend come in to the house and had a little gerbil, and put the gerbil down in the front yard, or front living room, and the dog came over, picked up the gerbil behind the neck and shook it a couple of times, and that was the end of the little pet gerbil. And my daughter kind of shook her head and said, "Oh well," but then the girl kind of left house crying because her pet had been taken care of by the dog. So she was rather unhappy. So as I recall, we replaced the gerbil for her pets, and they do like to hunt. So this is Dave, KD7ZYM in Lake City. So now let's go up to Ron, KD7QKU.
Stories, KD7QKU here. Yeah, that's a big cat, Jessica. So we have a stick in our patio door, and you can open it about 6 inches wide. And our cat is getting so fat she can just barely squeeze through, you know. And then I told her when she gets to the point where she can't squeeze through, I guess she can't go outside anymore. But Joanne feeds the cat constantly. I spend a lot of money on cat food, I'm telling you. And the cat does the same thing. The cat seems to think that she has to have, you know, fresh food or different food constantly. And then she goes over and either bites Joanne on the leg or scratches her to get her attention. And then Joanne knows she wants food, so she goes in and gives it to her. I tell Joanne, please don't give her so much food. I mean, she's got 2 bowls in there right now with different kind of canned food because, you know, she had one and then she can't eat that the second time. You got to have a different one, you know. We have a sign that says spoiled. See, I forget what it says now. Spoiled cat lives here with its servants or something to that effect, and that's the truth. So anyway, yeah, pets are a lot of fun. They do keep you company. Our cat was quite a hunter when she lived in Bellevue. She had an outside door, flapper door in the laundry room that she could go outside. And she, for a while, she went outside day and night. And then we would lock the laundry room door at night so she couldn't go out. So she could only go out in the daytime. I'd open the door when I got up and she would dash out. But she loved to hunt, go around the house and the yard. There was no fence on that yard. There was a fence on the backyard, but and in the carport where the motorhome was, it had a plywood wall on one side with some windows in it. And that was the fence. That was part of the fence to keep the dogs in the backyard. And we had dogs, and I had cut a hole in it so she could go through the hole. So if something was chasing her, she could go through the hole in the wall and get into the backyard for safety. But she sure wasn't afraid of dogs. She would take a dog on, I'm telling you. People came over with a dog, you had to be careful because she'd jump right on the dog. So she didn't like dogs at all. So let's see what else is coming. I just had to go help Joanne try to get a movie. Of course, the one she chose, you had to go someplace else probably and pay for it. We have thousands of free ones, but the one she decided she wanted to watch, you had to go to some other service that we didn't have. So anyway, I hope she got something to watch. So let's see, I guess that's it. That's about 9 o'clock, so we'll turn it back to Ned and see everybody probably over on Zoom. KD7QKU.
KD7QKU. Let's go to Jessica, KF7UHK.
I was just lifting up. That was our male cat. That's Hemingway. He's got six toes on all his paws, and I didn't name him. This is just whoever names these cats. You don't change the cat's names because they'll get mad at you for that. But he has no neck. He's all muscle. If you want to pick him by the scruff, there's no scruff to pick him up by because he's a solid cat. He's about 30 pounds. He's a very, very heavy cat, and I was setting him down because he was starting to squirm, and when he does that, he gets dangerous. But Chloe, the female, is pretty much the spokes cat in the house. When they're hungry, she comes and tells me. She says, "We're hungry. Please feed us. Look at us. We're starving." So with that, I'm going to pass it back. And thanks. This was a fun night. KF7 UHK.
UHK, and it is time to terminate the net. The witching hour of 9 o'clock has arrived. We'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association for allowing us to use WW7's repeater 147.08 for our voice transmissions for our net sales on Wednesdays and Saturdays between 8 and 9 o'clock. So on behalf of the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, this is Dave, KD7CYM, terminating the net at 9 o'clock. Good evening all.